Hi, everybody. I'm Pastor Becca Gorell from the Lebanon United Methodist Church in New Hampshire.
And I am Pastor Sean Delmore from the White River Junction United Methodist Church in White River Junction, Vermont.
We're here to give you a word of assurance and a call to action in the middle of this week and in the midst of all that's going on, to pause and to hear a word of Scripture and reflect for our lives.
Our scripture today comes at a point when John the Baptizer has been beheaded. Seeking comfort and healing, the crowds have followed Jesus and gathered. We pick up then with Matthew. It is verse 15 through 21. When it was evening, the disciples came to Jesus and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "No, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." They replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish." And Jesus said, "Bring them here to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled, and they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
Thanks be to God. I love this passage so much because it reminds us that we have what we need to take care of one another, to take care of the crowds. And everybody's in this feeling of crisis and that there's not enough, and there's fear and the power of Rome all around them. And so people are hungry for Jesus, and they come out in droves to see him, but then they're also literally hungry because our physical needs are important to God as well. And the disciples feel overwhelmed by all this need around them, and I can relate to that. I bet we can all kind of relate to that right now, how much and how great the need in ourselves and in our community. And so they ask Jesus to just get rid of that need by sending people away. And instead, he says, "No, you feed them." And they say, "We don't have enough." And he says, "Sure you do. What do you have?" "We have 5 loaves and a couple of fish." And somehow that is enough as Christ blesses it and as people share it and they find that they actually do have what they need. Right now it feels like it's hard to have enough, whether it's enough toilet paper or baking ingredients like flour, or whether it's enough calm and sense of God's presence. It feels hard to have enough. And yet, God is telling us in this passage, you have what you need to feed yourselves and to feed your community. I think it also invites us, not only as people of God, to use our resources to help others, to feed and care for physical needs, but also to think about what are the tools we have to feed people's spiritual hunger. Oh God, we don't have enough for all of the hunger in our community spiritually. We don't even have a building that people can meet together in right now. We don't have a place and a time when we can gather in person. We don't have all the resources we need. And I can hear Jesus say, "Well, what do you have?" "Well, we have a computer, and we have this pad of paper, and we have Zoom, and we have Facebook, and we have phone calls and phone trees." And God says, so feed the people. Feed people's hunger with that. It's an uncertain time for us as church, for our communities, for our world. But God is saying to us, you have what you need already in this time. And you have what you need to serve others. So use it, and use it creatively. And that word is a comfort to me and also an inspiration, and a challenge. And I think we wanted to share with folks, what can we do when we're feeling that feeling of not having enough, spiritually and literally. So we wanted to think about food, but we also wanted to think about spirit.
And let's be honest, even when it is just our own needs, in the best of times, it can feel like a struggle. When I'm having a great dinner and I'm full, so often I want to keep eating more. And in our family, we had this great conversation, right, about tomorrow, Sean is going to be so grateful if I save that great meal for leftovers. And it reminds us that gratitude, that giving thanks for what we have, that we have anything at all, is a profound spiritual practice that tears us away from that awful math of limitation and scarcity. That feeling that we don't have anything because we might have less than we did before. But when we are filled with gratitude, when we are thankful for that bit of savory food, when we are thankful for the self-discipline to hang on to hope and beauty, even when people start to get a little bit bitter. When we are grateful and thankful for the love that's been shared in the past, and we might look at a wonderful painting that a friend did for us and call someone and say, oh, that deepest blue reminded me of walks with you in the rain. There are so many things to be grateful for. Perhaps it is a prayer shawl that has been knitted. Perhaps it is warmth. Perhaps it is fresh air on our face or the sound of songbirds outside. We are surrounded by God's creation that sings out that things are holy and they are enough. Let us rejoice in them and share in them, expressing our gratitude.
When you're feeling maybe like you don't have enough or just starting to feel afraid and anxious, it can be so affirming and help get through those moments to just count those blessings, think about the things, even the little things, to be grateful for. Make a list, even if your list is only one thing long, of something for which you want to give thanks. And I encourage you to practice that gratitude, especially when things are hard. And one of the things that today Sean and Becca are grateful for are things we could find in our pantry that some yesterday version of ourselves bought at some point and stored away. And right about now, we're trying to find creative ways to use up the things that are in our pantry and in our freezers and refrigerators, especially before they go badly. And so we're thinking about how to use what we do have and be thankful for it. So I bet a lot of you have really good experience and recipes and ideas about how to cook creatively, using perhaps fewer resources or things that might be on hand in the average kitchen. And we invite you as a call to action this week to share some recipes with one another, or you can leave them or links to them in the comments on this video, whether you're watching it on YouTube or on Facebook, and share ideas for how to make the most of the resources that we have when it comes to food, how to cook more frugally, or for leftovers for tomorrow's version of yourself, and how to use the resources we have with Thanksgiving. So please share those with one another. We hope that this blessing of gratitude and of the sense that God is with us and that that is enough carries you and sustains you in body and in spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Blessings.